So just to quickly cover some other alternative ways of creating these alphas. Now that we understand how we target alphas to the area that we're trying to remove, so these are just like a couple little techniques that I've used before. They're less common. It's really when you start to have like a tricky area to key, or you're struggling to pull out some detail in a certain area. So for example, this area, we want to pull off the green screen of this footage. This is the footage we're going to be working on the advanced key at the end. So we're going to learn how to get this guy off the background. And there's quite a lot of work involved in doing that. But one example, if we just use the key light, let's say we're just trying to get an alpha for this specific area. And we look at normal key light and we can see the result it's giving us. It's maybe not the best key. So if you look at the hair on the shirt and maybe some of the contamination in different areas, it's not the best key that you could get. Compared to this, and this is using a little bit of expressions, and you see it kind of maintains a little bit of that shape a little better, a little bit more realistically. It doesn't work for different areas, but it does work for this specific area, and that's how you're always going to think about it. And so what exactly, what are some other approaches that you can do some keys? Just to give you a couple ideas and things to think about. And if you start running into a problem, tools to have in your tool belt. So this is something I did. I just did a denoise, and sometimes maybe, like for example, this area is a bit yellow, kind of orange. So maybe you could, kind of grade some of the red out to kind of get it more of a neutral looking green. So I just took the red and pulled it down a little bit and increased the saturation. And now you have an area that looks a little bit less different. And sometimes using a key light after that, you might actually get a better key. Sometimes you won't, but sometimes you will. So just to keep in mind, a little bit of color correction or increasing the saturation can sometimes improve your keys sometimes. Not all the time, but something to keep in mind. So that's one way. Another way, a little bit more advanced, is using subtracting channels from each other. So in this example, let's see, I have an expression node. We haven't really talked about this node, but basically a very quick summary and easy to understand is each one of these controls a color channel. So red, you can see the X is checked in the red, X is checked in the green, X is checked in the blue. And the last one is the alpha channel. So basically whenever you put something in here, it does a math expression into that channel that you're telling it to. So for example, in this one, I did, if we look at the color channels, we look at the green and the blue channel. A trick I like to do is to pull out details sometimes is if you see a large difference between one of these channels, for example, if I look at the green channel, it's very bright here. And if I look at the blue channel, it's very dark here. So there's quite a big difference. If I tap between G and B on my keyboard, I see there's a very large difference of value in this area. So if I subtract the two from each other, basically I can isolate this area. This is a more advanced technique, but really it's just subtraction. And if you remember this, whenever you see a large difference between two things, you can pull out detail from that area using this. So I just did green, G minus B. So green minus blue. It will take the green channel, subtracting the blue one. And it gives us this alpha. And you see it's giving us a pretty strong white here, and then the character's black over the top. And so that's cool, but I need this to be black because I want that to be invisible, and I want the character to be solid. So I just take an invert, and we get a result like this, which I can do a color correction on. So I have the RGBA, or you can set it the alpha, it doesn't really matter. And I do a little bit of a color correction. So I gamut it way down to kind of get rid of the gray area, and I adjusted the black point to kind of isolate. And you see the key we get is actually better than a normal key light. So a key light is giving this result, and this little expression trick is actually giving us something more interesting. So it works in this case. Certainly this won't work in other cases, but it's something to think about, that maybe if you ever spot a difference between values, a very big difference, you could subtract them. One other thing you can do, a more advanced technique, I haven't covered a lot about color space. I'm going to save that basically for another class because it's a very complex topic in itself. It's pretty much a rabbit hole. But one thing you can do is convert an image to log space. And this is like a very flat profile that some cameras come to you by default, basically. Is a very simple explanation, but basically it's kind of compressing all your color values into a different space. So we basically use a node called log2lin, and you plug it in, and you say you want to convert linear into log. So we're not going to talk too much about the theory of all this in this particular class, but it's very simple to use practically, even if you don't understand the deep color science behind it. You just convert it to this flat space. You do your key as normal. So you convert it to log, you do a key light, and sometimes your keys will actually have more detail in this log space. That's it, pretty much. And then you can just, do a color correction at the end. So that's kind of how you can do different things. So basically all you're doing is you're doing a color correction or a conversion before you place your keying nodes that generate the actual alpha. So these examples are here. You can look at them. They're in the script. And we'll start to move into despilling and the full compositing structure, which will utilize this whole area. And we'll do a follow-along practical exercise once we get to that class.